Chad, Lamar Jackson, we know the Ravens tagged him during the show yesterday with a non-exclusive tag. That means he's getting $32 million. And it also means if he doesn't play for the Ravens, the team he signs with on an offer sheet, which the non-exclusive tag allows, will allow him to go to said team under a new contract. That team will give up 2 first-round picks. But they could have used the exclusive tag and chose not to. The Ravens sending a message, and they're being very smart with this. I'll explain why. But Eric DeCosta, the general manager, John Harbaugh, the head coach, right after the season said, 200% chance Lamar is back. He's in our plans. He's our franchise quarterback. We need him here. And now they slap the non-exclusive tag on him and allow him to negotiate with other teams. But almost, this feels like Rodgers' announcement from a year ago yesterday, where he says he's back, and then within the hour, Russell Wilson's traded to the Denver Broncos. The trade was done if Rodgers wasn't going there. Well, we know the non-exclusive tag was on Lamar Jackson yesterday, and within the hour, reports come out, like the one from Phil Yates, that says that teams aren't interested in going after or pursuing a contract for Lamar Jackson. The Falcons, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Raiders. So you mean to tell me that every offseason, when teams say we turn over every rock, we evaluate every facet of our organization, within an hour of the decision to slap the non-exclusive tag on a former MVP who was 8-4 as the starter last year for a franchise that went 2-4 down the stretch without him, they're not going to at least pick up the phone and negotiate or talk contract with Lamar Jackson versus any other option? When you think about who the good quarterbacks are in the NFL, he's one of them. Good or bad, not great, I'm not trying to overanalyze the different ways to describe. Let's just say good or bad. How many are good versus bad? There are not 32 starting quality quarterbacks in the NFL. So when you have the opportunity to acquire one, you do. Except in this case, where the NFLPA sent out a memo to the media that said we're going to watch this for collusion between owners. Because we know what Lamar Jackson wants, the fully guaranteed contract that DeShaun Watson received. The Ravens offered him a contract that was over the final amount that Watson signed. The problem with that is 68% of it was fully guaranteed. So instead of regurgitating the $250 million plus, it was really like $130 million. And I get it. It's a lot of money. I would sign it. Any other position should sign it. But when we're discussing what quarterbacks receive versus the other main players, the superstars in other leagues, look at that money versus what those guys are getting and what those guys should earn based on being the face of the franchise and the most important position in sports. Lamar Jackson's one of those guys. I want him to dig in and get this. But there absolutely is collusion. The problem with the NFLPA is they have no power. I read that statement and I think, whatever. Because if the owners are going to block this, there's nothing that they can really do about it or prove that they are colluding together to not hand out another contract the same way Jimmy Haslam did. There has to be one owner like Jimmy Haslam, one other guy that's willing to step up and do this. Can Jeff Bezos hurry up and buy the Commanders? The Commanders would, pair him with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy becomes the head coach. Pair him with so many other offenses. Miami comes to mind. The Dolphins have also said they're moving forward with Tua. Now, they don't have a first-round pick this year, so they can't go through Lamar. They've got to go through the Ravens in order to actually get things going. That's got to be after the draft. But, Chad, yes, there's been collusion. And I think the fact that Lamar Jackson does not have an agent right now, it's hurting him for the first time. I don't think it's hurt him. I think he's played this perfectly until now, where the Ravens have said, hey, you're going to get 32 instead of 45. That's the difference. There's a $12 million difference in the two tags. The Ravens are saying you're getting $32 million or negotiate with someone else. We have the chance to match it, or we're getting 2 first-round picks. And then you have every team, practically every team, that makes sense for Lamar Jackson saying, yeah, we're out. We're not in the business of negotiating. We're not even calling him. That's what they're saying. That's ridiculous. But at the same time, it's a brilliant business move by Baltimore in the one card they could play.
Derek Carr just got signed, right? Or he's going to the Saints. He had multiple offers and interest.
At least two.
As a free
multiple,
agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he
you're
probably
right.
could have decided between an entire division.
You're right.
Right? There's an entire division,
Sure.
the NFC South, in need of a quarterback, and he had offers. Is Lamar Jackson better or worse than Derek Carr? He's quite a bit better. He's a former league MVP. He is quite a bit better than Derek Carr. So do I believe that collusion has taken place here? Absolutely. I believe collusion has taken place. I also believe it has nothing to do or nothing against Lamar Jackson. This was going to happen to the next great quarterback that came available in free agency that needed a contract because of what happened with Cleveland and DeShaun Watson. This was going to be the next step. This is a strikeout against the Cleveland Browns and not Lamar Jackson. It negatively impacts Lamar Jackson. No doubt about it. But this is every owner doing exactly what we know was in their brains when the Browns gave guaranteed money throughout to DeShaun Watson. They hated it. They loved the current setup. They have the power over the NFLPA. They have the situation exactly where they want. They make the money. Contracts aren't fully guaranteed. They can cut bait and move on. They can do all these things and still make billions as team owners. Lamar Jackson was the next really good to great quarterback to come up that we knew this was going to be the case study moving forward if he was going to get that guaranteed money. And every other owner, not named Jimmy Haslam, got together and said, we're not doing it. This guy, we know, talking to ownership in Baltimore, this guy wants a fully guaranteed contract on par with DeShaun Watson or better. He may deserve that based on DeShaun Watson's contract, but every other owner is saying, don't look at DeShaun Watson's contract. Look at every other contract that's been done before that, and we're comparing to that. And as long as this is your demand, we're not going to talk to you. It is collusion. It's unfortunate for Lamar Jackson. It's also very, very predictable based on the way we knew the owners reacted to that Watson guaranteed contract.
But owners want to win, Chad. And here's what the Ravens are doing. They've offered him, on average, $50 million per year. But again, only 68% of that original contract from last year, reportedly, is guaranteed. What the Browns gave up, keep in mind, this is 2 first-round picks plus the contract for Lamar. The Browns, outside of the fully guaranteed money that they gave Watson, also gave up 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 fourth-round picks to Houston in exchange for DeShaun Watson. So you mean to tell me that there's not a team out there, per reports, the quarterback-needy teams that fit what Jackson would bring, they're not even saying, hey, we're not in for the fully guaranteed money. We're not interested in Lamar Jackson for 2 first-round picks compared to what we saw handed out to DeShaun Watson a year ago. That's ridiculous. And that screams collusion. And this is why he needs an agent, because the agent can do this, the talk for him through the media, because right now the only reporting going on is through the teams, not through the player. There's no spokesman for Lamar Jackson because he represents himself and he doesn't talk about this. I think that's benefited him until now. He needs someone out front on his behalf, making sure that if there are teams calling, it's leaked and what the money is. It's time to negotiate against Baltimore, because right now the media is on Baltimore's side based on how this is going. Is there collusion? Sure. But the NFLPA is so weak. It's the weakest players association right now in the major sports compared to the money we're seeing elsewhere. He doesn't have much of a shot right now other than taking the deal that Baltimore offered him last year.
I agree.
It's a smart move by the Ravens.
I agree with most everything you're saying. I do think owners want to win. I think what they want more than wins is to keep the system that they've had that makes them a ton of money in place. And in offering him a fully guaranteed contract on par with DeShaun Watson, this is where they've colluded. Every other owner's gotten together and say, if you do this, if Baltimore does it, so Baltimore says no, we're all backing that. And in backing that, we will not pursue Lamar Jackson. That's collusion. But this is how we fight back against Jimmy Haslam, the Browns, the guaranteed contract, Because guys, when they get into a room, guys and gals, all 32 of them, what they're going to say is, we're all competitive in here. We all want to win Super Bowls. We want to beat each other. But at the end of the day, we are a member of a 32-person club, and that 32-person club cannot lose. We have long-term, immense profitability for the next 40 years. Your kids will be making so much money.
Yep.
But to protect that, we can't become the NBA. We can't become Major League Baseball. We have to control contracts, how they're set out. They can't be fully guaranteed. We have to stop this right now. I do believe that owners want to win. I think what they want more than wins is money. And they want to make sure that that money-making system is set up for eternity if they can.
I want to say this, though.
And this is one way to do it.
In the 30 years of the non-exclusive franchise tag, only one NFL team has given up 2 first-round picks in exchange for signing a player off of a roster. It was Sean Gilbert, who went from the Redskins to the Panthers. This is unprecedented, though, with the quarterback, a franchise guy that you don't let loose. You allow him to negotiate with other teams, and you're willing to receive 2 first-round picks if you can't match it. It's different than a defensive tackle. By the way, Gilbert produced the following year for Carolina, but Washington chose not to match it. That's the only example we have. So it doesn't happen. But we also don't see quarterbacks like this on the market in this scenario.